Hello everyone, welcome to my page, Timo Starboy Reality Talk TV. Yeah, this is another new update. Yeah, so we're about to get into it. You see my people out there, my beloved people, all over the world, Nigerians in particular. We get another news from Mr. President-elect. That is Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He said he wanted to fight corruption. When I heard the news, I can't stop laughing. I cannot stop laughing because the person who have already honed the first degree in a corruption, manner, you know, he has owned first degree, in all subjects, in all subject of a corruption, and he wanted to fight the corruption. Even the legitimacy, the outcome of election is a totally fraud. Is a corruption. So, and that kind of person want to fight the corruption now. It's just a joke. How is gonna do it? How is gonna do it? So let's ask ourselves, who is fooling who? Who is totally fooling who? This somebody is a corrupt himself. Is totally, all his body is corrupt. From head to toe is corrupt. And he want to fight corruption. How is gonna do it? Let's ask him a question. Let's ask ourselves a serious question here. How is gonna do it? How is gonna manage? It seems that everybody is just is a stupid person. Maybe he was thinking that anyway, how he's playing your own game, how he's playing your own smart game, that everybody will just fall on it. He doesn't know that as his reason, as his thinking, even so others they are following him. They are following every step he's making. He thought maybe we are still in 18th century, whereby their slave trade will be taking place, and they will be do all sort of things to cajole people, to bring them their brain down. I don't know what he's thinking about. I don't really know. I don't really know what this man is thinking about. What is taking the new generation now? What is taking them? Is he think that they are all fools? I don't know. I cannot even stop laughing since I heard this news. He said he wanted to start fighting corruption on his own regime, whereby the person that he wanted to leave the post for him is a corrupt man himself, and they are in same party. They are a paddy. How is going to manage? How is going to do it? That is the question of the day. Because this man is just a full of joke. It's a ridiculous. In Yoruba they say ẹni tó bá máa dáṣọ fún ni tọrùn ẹ̀ là á kọ́ wò. The person who is going to give you a cloth, you will know which one is wearing. The one that is wearing on his own neck. If it is a dirty or is a tier one. So how manage? I cannot even stop thinking about the whole scenario, the whole joking, laughing matter. You want to fight the corruption at what age? At what stage now? At what stage? We all know what is hidden. We all know. So you cannot fool people. You cannot be fooling people all the time. You can fool some people sometimes, but you can't fool all the people all the time. That is the game. That is the game on ground, because we are following you all around. You can't fool us. You can't fool us no more. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. How are you going to fight the corruption when you are a man of corrupt himself? 100% you are a corrupt man. Oh, Princess Blessing, welcome to the platform. Thank you. So you are all welcome. So share the program, because this program is it's just a laughing matter. I can't stop laughing. Since morning I heard this news. This man, he say he want to fight the corruption in Nigeria, and he's a corrupt man. He has won first degree in a corrupt way, in a corrupt manner. He has won first degree. All his hand is dirty. It's full of dirty. It's full of blood. And he want to fight the corruption. For who? For his family? Or for his colleagues? Or for his friends? Huh? I don't know. I don't know what he's talking about. You know, maybe it's part of the blah blah blue blah. What you say? You know, the language that is alien even cannot hear. You see? So don't let me waste your time. So let me play the video of the man himself that is want to fight the the one is out of sense. He's out of his knowledge. You think maybe he want to take us as a fool, that maybe we fall on his trap, you know? You know, it doesn't work that way again. It doesn't work. That, you know, that one don't pass, you know? It's a long story, you know? It's a long story. It's a dead end for you. You can't jeopardize our life again. You cannot be jeopardizing our life again. We have wised up. This new generation you are messing up with, you cannot even have any clue. You can't have the clue, you know, where it's gonna go. So that is the main fact. So allow me to play this video, and we hear it all, you know, from RSTV. So let's move on. Let's roll it. Sorry. Okay, let's roll it.
With incentives and policies in place to make corruption unattractive for judges.
Let me put it on the speaker so that everybody can hear.
Corruption will reduce if the right incentives that guarantee a conducive working atmosphere implemented. We said this during the inauguration of Justice Undo Magistrate Court Complex in Pathologycal, River State. The event is part of a 2-day part of the 2 days visit to the state inaugural project.
Thank you, Princess Blessing. Yeah, you are exactly correct. Thank you. I greet you all. Just share the program. Share and like. Thank you. God will bless you all. Let's enjoy the program. It was the man who was speaking now. See, Tinumbu, this is the man. He's talking to all fools where that is taking part in his this thing, Shari. Look at what he's saying.
On the other side of the coin, if you don't want,
talking to the fool sitting down there with him.
you got to pay attention to their welfare.
See, they are even clapping. Fools can never finish in Nigeria. Very gullible peoples.
To compromise justice. Not just the books, but do some. I promise you, we are going to review all of these.
I can't stop laughing though. Now I cannot stop laughing. Princess say now for the ground though. The man is talking nonsense with his gang.
In the next 6 months, you ask yourself, why did I even embark on this?
Want to fight corruption on what stage?
In the next 6 months, it is still like this. Most people complain. Nobody. Even the little you are giving, you don't want to use it and do the right thing. Just like now we handle the gospel to the Council of Legal Education.
Thank you. God will bless you.
Give out 400 million naira. Look, put it in our account for the maintenance of the structure. We give them properties where they can use to make money to keep the school. We don't want a situation where they will say, oh, the federal government have not released money. The money they release is too small. Okay, let the federal government be paying your salary. Take this to give to
this one is Autumn Wake in Wake. I've been waiting with it in them. Autumn Wake.
I can't understand.
They are the associate.
I want to talk about Ayo.
Yes, day 2 of President-elect Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu's visit to River State on the invitation of Governor Nyesom Wike. he had a number of things to say,
Yes,
and I
I'm
believe
with you.
that as we're just talking about it now, that there are a few things that we had addressed yesterday, and it gave him an opportunity to perhaps speak to those things. But the focus this morning, of course, I'd like to talk about is with regards to he saying that he would make corruption unattractive, and this he would do by providing incentives and creating policies through a think tank that he would set up as president, or once he becomes president. This is Ashwaji Bola Tinubu speaking. And on hearing that, that is absolutely appropriate. So I ask in terms of how do we tackle this big issue of corruption? And I was speaking to that because he said that the magistrate's quota he was commissioning in River State was one of the tools to fighting corruption. Because when you provide a conducive environment for judges now, addressing the judges now, or the judiciary, when you provide a conducive environment for judges to work, it makes it less attractive, perhaps, to bend to receiving, going through the back door to receiving bribes, or being induced, let me use that word, to rule a case in one's favor. But beyond that, I read an article by Justice Ayo Salami where he was talking about a focus on eradicating corruption in the judiciary, and I quite like his take on some recommendations that perhaps the president-elect could look into with regards to fostering or pushing his commitment to fighting corruption. Mind you,
Fighting corruption.
hopeful, as with other
In what
Nigerians,
land? In what stage?
we wouldn't have a promise that was made like the
This
promise
man
that
must
was
be
made
joking.
when President Muhammadu Buhari was running for election himself, or before he became president, on the platform of fighting corruption, ending corruption, and people really bought into that. But unfortunately, a few incidents that happened during his tenure didn't quite align with this fight for corruption. Well, that is his tenure. Let's face the future. So the first thing that Justice Salami had noted was that when it comes to corruption, especially when we're looking at the judiciary, it is not just one particular area. We have a culture of corruption, unfortunately, in this nation, Nigeria.
Exactly.
It cuts across. You can look at the different sectors, you can look at the different areas and different personalities. In fact, when we go abroad, unfortunately and sadly, some of the things that they say or talk about is that, someone has described Nigeria or Nigerians as being fantastically corrupt. And of course, when we look at the judiciary in this case, there have been some issues around just how fair or transparent judges are in Nigeria. So one of the things we must do, according to his recommendation, is number one, we must make less appealing this culture of corruption or celebrating things that we ought not to celebrate. For instance, we don't disparage instances where we see someone who is spending money lavishly, young or old, without a source of income that is commensurate to how they are spending. This is a country that rewards people. As long as you have money, that's all it takes.
Yeah.
So we look at politicians who obtain their wealth improperly, and yet we look at those who are working hard to earn their money as being slow or not being smart or sharp enough. This culture of encouraging or just supporting corruption or celebrating corruption must end. We must cut it at its roots. It's not just by incentives alone, but may this think tank begin to think of how to make it less attractive to be corrupt, and perhaps it could start by the politicians themselves, by ensuring that there's transparency, there's openness, they're able to demonstrate as leaders the sources of their income.
Thank
we
you,
also
thank
must
you.
restore the dignity of labor. We must ensure that, in terms of
Juliana, thank you for love. Thank you for your love.
Rewarding hard work, rewarding
thank you
honesty,
for your likeness.
rewarding people who are upright and making it more
you.
attractive. If we don't do
Thank
this,
you.
and we have a culture of corruption in this nation, no matter how many magistrates courts you build, no matter how many things you do, you will still continue to fight it. We must strengthen our institution.
Yes.
The SEC, for instance, was set up to tackle this. But what has been seen in time and time again, unfortunately, is that sometimes it's used as a tool of vendetta, whereby the people who ought to be in EFCC net or being investigated are not. So perhaps strengthen institutions and make them independent. And finally, to the judiciary, a lot of attention has been put on the National Judiciary Council, making it more independent and less, influence from the executive in terms of Nigeria. And of course, the appointment of judges themselves. Later on, I believe we're going to talk about the issue of the judges in Nasarawa, who they say do not even have the qualifications to be lawyers. And yet they are in court judging. What are the processes to appointing judges in Nigeria? These are some of the things I hope that they will look into.
Okay, I mean, there is a general consensus, both locally and internationally, that corruption poses a threat to sustainable development. And here in Nigeria, those who analyze this subject, Transparency International and other bodies, have told us that, look, Nigeria has lost trillions money since independence. So anybody saying we'll fight corruption is not saying anything new.
Yes.
Absolutely nothing new. It's a no-brainer. That look, part of the challenge in this environment is a corrosive impact of corruption over the decades.
Tinubu want to fight corruption. In what way?
There have been some cynical.
A man of a corruption himself.
I recall in that regard an article written by
a man who is having first degree
when he was assessing the
in all subjects of corruption.
And he devoted about 2-3
want to fight corruption now.
Piece.
Nonsense.
That, look, he had taken a look at that
nonsense talk.
88-page Renewed Hope manifesto. Now he thought that there was very scant attention paid to, what the
go and return the certificate first before you started fighting corruption.
As it then was.
The certificate of return certificate of the election. Go and return it.
A very serious.
And now we take you for serious.
In that manifesto. So I hope people like Etimetim will now be satisfied that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is talking about, fighting corruption.
Yeah, it's so funny, my brother.
And measures in
yeah, my sister is so funny.
Part of the challenge.
Very funny man.
Is that, or elsewhere, is that there's something that is called grand corruption. There's also something called
the man is a joker.
Petty corruption. That's how Transparency International classifies it. Now, the part of the challenge with fighting corruption is that more attention tends to be paid to petty corruption rather than grand corruption. And when you are talking about grand corruption, you're talking about institutional corruption.
Exactly.
You're talking about the lack of political will to do the right things. So, I know that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has no shortage of experts who can help construct a view in this regard. But I'll come back to that later.
He doesn't have
any
advisor.
Of setting up, of commissioning a magistrate's court complex in Port Harcourt, and he was talking in relation to the judiciary. Yes, the welfare of judges is very important, and I think he's eminently qualified to talk about that. He, as governor of Lagos State, having paid very serious attention to the reform of the judicial sector and facilitating the administration of justice. So when he talks about addressing the welfare of judges, he has been there, he has the experience. And indeed, it is important that our judges are given an enabling environment, not just in terms of structures, but also in terms of the environment that will facilitate their work and make it easier for them to deliver justice on a sustainable, consistent basis. Then he said, as regards the ordinary worker, that there will be policies in place that will empower the average worker to be able to own property. And his assumption is that people have property, they will not be tempted to steal. Well, some people are greedy.
Yeah.
Part of the conundrum of corruption also has to do with corruption. Sometimes you ask yourself, when is it enough? You see some people who have been ministers in this outgoing administration, who have been chairmen of boards, and some of them, if they appoint them as messengers in the Tinubu administration, they will say, yes, I'm serving my country. Nigerians are very shameless. What they are looking for is just access to the corridors of power, to have access to state resources.
The warriors.
The battle has to be
man of corruption. Yeah, you are right, Christ.
Why is it that you can't enter at the airport without people?
You are very right, my brother.
Like they want to collect money from you. Corruption in the civil service.
You are very right, Charlie Christ.
Your cannot move in the ministries.
He's a man of corruption himself. He has hold a degree, first degree in a corruption subject.
In a public position, he will recruit for himself about 100 special assistants. All these special assistants, either from their church or from their mosque or from their village.
Yeah.
These are dimensions of, corruption that we talk about. But the thing is to make the governance space, the space for transparency, for accountability. Those are the larger principles rather than, the episodic, dramatic cases that we see out there. However,
the man of corruption.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu as president of Nigeria, you can assume that, is coming to power on a historical note, and he knows that
In
he
a
has a
corruption way.
responsibility to make an impact at his level, at his age, with what he has been through. Well, he has a responsibility to make a difference for many reasons, both cultural, political, and also at the level of self-actualization. And those who are cynical that, you
Sorry,
shouldn't
guys.
talk about corruption, well, he may well disappoint them. Because if he's confronted with a case and there is compelling evidence, he as president of Nigeria is not going to ridicule himself by saying, oh, you will look the other way. Because when you are president of Nigeria, well, you are there to make history, because it's not every day that, people have the opportunity to lead a country as big as this, a country as rich as this. What remains is for our leaders to show the example. When leaders show good example, the people who follow suit. What is that newspaper again? The West African Pilot. Show the light.
Show the lights.
Right?
Yeah.
And the people, will know the way. So leadership by example should be the guiding principle.
Leadership by example.
Truth has to be said.
That is what we know.
He said all the right things.
That is what we
yesterday,
want to see. Yeah.
Second day of the
Thank
two-day
you.
visit in Rivers State. But I would like to tell you how corruption affects judiciary. It is very organized. The greatest way to stop corruption in judiciary is to make politics unattractive with money. Because one of the greatest perpetrators of corruption in judiciary are the politicians themselves.
Exactly. You are saying.
So when they get into politics because it's attractive, the politicians institute a series of action that leads to state capture, where they capture wealth, capture opportunities, capture prospects. They become very rich.
Yes.
And with that also, they capture the functions of the different tiers of government. So they have loyalty and alliances in judiciary. They have loyalty and alliances in the legislative arm of government, and institutes and parastatals of government. They have loyalties and alliances there. And all of it works together in a symbiotic way to oil their wheel of corruption to do their bidding.
Yeah.
Most of the money passed on in these corrupt activities, predominantly most of them come from corrupt politicians that help them, in turn, get judgments to favor them. And that's why you see, once you go up the power ladder in Nigeria as a politician, that pretty much start for amassing wealth through state capture, making organs of government function in your place, then build influence capital. When you are able to do those three things, you have a retinue of people that are tied to you that will be able to aid and abate your corruption. So the very first way to break that cycle is to make government unattractive, constantly whittle down the political power of politicians, and subject them to a great deal of accountability, break the mold of any form of state capture, because corruption only thrives where there's an abundance of cash. Then after doing that, then you can now talk about the welfare. So when you talk about the welfare means setting up an ecosystem of sustainability after post-retirement for the judges. And that's where things like house scheme and the likes come in, pension, and also giving them appreciable pay and investing in the judiciary.
Exactly.
The funny irony is the fact that the judiciary are supposed to be able to build their own courts. The idea that politicians and governors are even building courts and giving judiciary officials cars doesn't even make it right in the first place. And those are the things that even open up the judiciary to corruption. How ironic that we're talking about corruption in judiciary, but we are also there to launch a project where the government is giving largesse building for the judiciary, where the judiciary is supposed to have its own purse that comes from the federal government. So you can see the irony of our country. So I think once you can do those two things, then you can be able to break the barrier of this corruption. So build about an ecosystem of a social structure that people are remunerated properly, but most importantly, whittle down the power of political influence state capture, and power influence among the political class. But I tell you that it is doing the whittling down of power among the political class that will give the biggest desired results. Because if government is not attractive, there's a lot of accountability, you hardly cannot steal when you're in government. You will not have the paraphernalia to bribe people to build state capture,
Exactly.
and bribing the judiciary and doing things in your favor.
Exactly.
Then if we do that, then we can plow the money that is normally frittered away in state capture into building a societal ecosystem of social stability and social aid and welfare, and then we can in turn focus the attention of wealth to building industries and enterprise that can employ people and reduce unemployment. I submit there.
This is another one, guys. Another corruption we are talking about on our judiciary system. And they said this election petitioner, they should have take it up, but we don't know what is delaying them. So that is another area of corruption we are talking about. So let's hear from senior advocate. That is Fanny. Yes, our senior advocate. Falano. So let me just put this one off. Femi Falano, San Femi Falano. Yeah, human rights activist, lawyer. So let's hear from them what they got to say.
Yes, disputed presidential election has become the cardinal's lamentation, sort of like the book of the Old Testament, traditionally ascribed to the prophet Jeremiah, who was lamenting the destruction of Jerusalem. And traditionally, when the faithful gather to read the scroll of Lamentations, it is a day of unrelenting sadness, a day to mourn the many evils that have befallen the eternal victims. In this case, at least in the eyes of John Cardinal Onayekon, the Nigerian people and the shattering of their electoral hopes. And so for him, after that ill-fated election and the subsequent donning of sackcloth and ashes, the time for atonement is here. And in that regard, it doesn't make sense to swear in people when there are issues to be settled in court, issues that have to do with legal challenges and the legitimacy of the electoral process.
Please share our program.
Have a point.
It's very important
that electoral
and it's very useful to you.
Stands means that
let everybody share and enjoy it.
Nigeria is that on May the 29th,
this is a very serious issue.
Ahmed Tinubu will be given the keys to the Aso Rock presidential villa. No two ways about that. So how then to resolve that dilemma?
Another fraud is going on.
Well, for more on this, I'm joined now in the studio by Nigeria's master of jurisprudence, Femi Falana, who is a respected constitutional lawyer, human rights activist, and senior advocate of Nigeria. What a pleasure and an honor to have you here, as always.
Thank you very much, sir. I thought I was listening to a pastor.
You know when we're talking about lamentation?
Yeah, well, it's only as it relates to the Old Testament.
Yeah. But Nigeria's big elections, the official results obviously came in some time ago in favor of Bola Tinubu and the APC, but now it's mired in legal challenges and lamentations of almost biblical proportions, yet the inauguration is going ahead because that's the law. But is it a moral, ethically sound law? Is it a fair rule?
Sir, I think it's too late in the day to cry or bemoan our fate. Since 2010, we have engaged in a consistent campaign for far-reaching electoral reforms along the lines suggested, the recommendations of the race panel, which I've said on this forum. These recommendations were adopted by the panel set up by President Jonathan following the crisis that attended the 2011 presidential election.
Yaradua.
Yeah, no, it was Owen's panel was set up by President Yaradua.
Right.
President Jonathan set up the Anelemu panel,
Right.
which adopted the recommendations of
I see what you mean.
Owens wholesale. Again, President Buhari set up the Ken Namani panel, which also adopted the basic recommendations of the Owens panel.
Yeah.
But to master the political will, to implement these recommendations have always been a problem. Because the people in power want to take advantage of the loopholes in the law, including those who are complaining now. And if you look at the dramatics personnel, which of them has not enjoyed what we are criticizing now? Governor Bola Tinubu, Vice President Atiku, Peter Obi, in fact more than anybody, had their elections challenged. And when those elections were challenged, they were in power.
Yeah.
President Obasanjo and Vice President Atiku in 2003 and 2007, when they were challenged by candidate General Muhammadu Buhari, they were in power. In fact, in 2003, the election petition did not end until 2005. Now, the case of Peter Obi is more interesting. Here is a guy who was kept out of power for 3 years. He won election in 2003. But INEC declared that Dr. Kassim was the winner of the election. So, the petition was contested for 35 months, almost 3 years. And it finished to Governor Obi after the verdict of the Court of Appeal. So I better go to the office to complete, to spend whatever is left of the time. And I said, no. I feel like a liar in Lagos. No! Your opponent had no term of office because his election had been annulled. So you can't complete his term of office. So you are going to start your own 4-year tenure the moment you take your oath of office. Every lawyer said I was talking about him. But later, he took advantage of my position and fed the matter from the High Court to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court made a point that your 4-year tenure commences the day you are sworn in. So I think I was discussing, I think sometime last year, Governor Obi, you took advantage of my advice. You haven't told me, and I don't tell me.
I like that.
It was a public duty.
You didn't buy you a bottle of champagne? I'm disappointed.
No, you just said no. You're rendering a public service.
Yeah, of course.
But after that, in 2007 again, no, 2009, Obi won the election. And Oba went to court to say, whereas in 2007, INEC had conducted an election, which was illegal anyway, and he said he had won. Therefore, my term of office, was kept in the cooler. So what are you talking about? Again, the battle went up to the Supreme Court. Governor Obi was in office. At the end of the day, the Supreme Court upheld, and decided that the election the gentleman was talking about was illegally conducted. Dr. Dati Ahmed won election to the Senate in 2011, I think under the platform of CPC. His opponent, former Governor McAfee, went to court and was in court for almost a year. Eventually won. And Dr. Dati Ahmed, who had been in the parliament, was then asked to vacate because it was proved that they didn't win the election. But he had spent about a year in the parliament. So this is the position. What the respected Cardinal Onayeka is talking about is what in law we call delegate ferenda as opposed to delegate. You know, what the law is as opposed to what the law should be. For me, I've always believed that all election petitions should be concluded before the inauguration of an incoming government. But again, this time it's not limited to the president-elect. All the governors who have been elected, including the LP, Labour Party, governorship candidate and governor-elect in Abia State, will be sworn in. All the legislators who have been declared winners of the election on the platform of PC, APC, PDP, Labour Party, and all of them will also be inaugurated on the 29th.
Right. But for the benefit of our audience who may not know these things, what is the law as it stands today with regard, for example, to the presidential tribunal? I mean, there are different time frames for each level, aren't there?
By virtue of section 285 of the Constitution, election petitions shall be heard by our courts and determined within a period of 180 days. That's 6 months.
That is on the tribunal level.
Yes.
Yeah, the presidential.
Also, at the Court of Appeal level.
Right, so that's another 6 months.
No. For the presidential election,
right,
it starts at the Court of Appeal. And then you have an option to go to the Supreme Court.
Yes.
So if you have 180 days in the Court of Appeal, you have additional 2 months, 60 days in the Supreme Court.
Right.
In the case of governorship, which is the only one that allows for 3 stages, you go to the election petition tribunal for 180 days, Court of Appeal for 60 days, Supreme Court for 60 days. That's keeping the governor in office for 10 months.
It's too long, man.
While his opponent,
what kind of a court is this?
opponents are fighting the legitimacy of his election. So this is the position. In fact, there's a provision of the Electoral Act, I think section 120, which provides.
As you can see at this point in time, that is why they are shouting, go to court, go to court. They know the court will delay. And once the Wuru, their godfather, sworn in, that is the end of the case. Because he will select another judiciary people, the judge people that will favor him. So they will dial down the case. That is why they are saying go to court. You can see the point now. That is the point over there in go to court, go to court, go to court if you are not satisfied. So they are master planning. They are master of this game. They have knew all along that it will resort to court. It will resort to tribunal. So when they go to the court will delay because of their, they have their influencer there. They have their man, to hold everything tight. And they will delay. They will do all this kind of tortoise something, quarreling, until this man is holding the power. And they will shut everything down with his own system. So you can see it's not balanced. It's not balanced here. This is not a judiciary system we want. This is not the law, the court, the law we want in our country. Because this is impunity. It's totally impunity. They will slow down this system to the extent that we favor their side. Because they are the ruling party. So that is the game. That is what this game is all about. It's a deadly game. And those people that are playing the game, they are psychopath. Let me just put it that psycho, because they don't care about people. They only care about themselves. It's me. It's about me, my pocket, and my family, and my people surrounding me. They don't care about citizens, about anybody. It's all about them. That is why they are saying go to court in the first place. You can see the court result now. It's just slowing things, like a what can I say, tortoise movement, like a snail movement, snail. How snail will be, just crawling, until they gave the power to the person that rigged the election, the person that is, he will sell out the country, So my advice for our judiciary people, our people in the panel of justice, don't let all these bad people hijack the country. Don't let all this our what's so called this our APC, because they are nothing to offer. They have nothing to offer, only to destroy more of this country. Don't let them hijack this, because when they hijack the country is bye bye for good. I'm just telling you this for free. I'm telling you this advice for free. So all the country is lying on your power, is lying on you to justify the case, So we don't need any more war. We don't need any more war. We have, for the past maybe 60 years now, we know what the civil war is all about. We know the taste. So we don't need more one. We don't need more one at this time around. So you can save the day by giving the justice to whoever it is. Just rule on the justice and let the democracy stand. That is what we want from our youth. So let me continue playing the video. Thank you.
Even in the tribunal or the court of appeal this time around, since the money has been declared the winner of the election has not been properly elected.
Charles Chris, amen. Let me respond to your case.
To appeal. He came
and he still remains in office, right?
Once the appeal is filed within 21 days.
Right.
So it is a law now. But what do you? But for me, these provisions were made when nobody thought we were going to have electronic voting.
Right.
In other African countries, and this is very sad for us, in 2017, the Supreme Court of Kenya decided the presidential election petition, within 14 days. And I drew the attention of Nigerians to that development. I wrote a piece, which was widely circulated in the media, entitled Electoral Justice in Kenya and Nigeria. And I drew the attention of my colleagues particularly to the need for us to ask for an amendment of the Constitution. Because in other African countries, even Ghana here, the challenge of the presidential election is only taken at the Supreme Court. In Kenya, it's the same thing. You don't begin at the Court of Appeal. Two,
so you go straight to the Supreme Court. Yeah.
In most other African countries, you have constitutional courts. These petitions go to the constitutional court, which those courts have 14 days to conclude the election petitions. At the time, the Constitution provided for 6 months. Nobody thought we're going to have the use of beavers machine or transmission of election results to the central server of INEC. So if we make the system to work, right, for me, all you need will be the reports of the beavers machine that has captured accreditation and the results that have been uploaded
to the IRS.
But when you have those two reports,
they're pretty much sorted.
You can even have the petition decided in 14 days.
Yeah, but what I don't understand, but the fact though is that the 6 months
so my sister,
limit.
Princess,
So
God will not allow them.
To last that long, doesn't
We
it?
will not allow all these people to hijack our
I
country.
why the courts don't. I mean, they don't have to take up the entire time. I mean, they can move a lot quicker than they are. That's the argument that some of your colleagues are making.
Because of the way
they can rule everything under 1 month, but they are just slowly, They know what they are doing. It's part of the game.
Right?
It's part of the game. This dirty game.
They return me by INEC. But the onus is on you.
A bunch of lunatic.
If that the election was not properly conducted, I have problems with that. What happens? To serve your opponent is a laborious exercise. To get the materials from the electoral body is problematic. In River State, I'm sure you are aware
What's the shame?
that some of the lawyers who were preparing an election petition to challenge the governorship election were arrested.
See.
And Governor Wike came out to justify it. Two tribunals now. The governorship election and the governorship tribunal, election petition tribunal. In River State and Ebonyi State have relocated to Abuja because the environment is hostile. Now, you don't have a number of days to file your petition for the defendants or the respondent, if you get them to serve, to file their reply, and their time will begin to run when you have served them. To get the materials that you will need to go to court and get an order compelling INEC, either at the national level or at the state level, to give you the materials. Now, you're going to call witnesses. The petitioners will have to call witnesses. The respondents will have to call witnesses. INEC will have to call witnesses.
Sorry, Jerry.
All this will take the entirety of the period. And of course, after hearing the case, the judges will need time to write the judgments,
To deliberate.
you know. So if we are going to take up the challenge facing off, we have to go back to the drawing table and ensure that we make the system to work.
Right. So you think that is what is responsible for what appears to be a delay to the start of the proceedings at the presidential level?
No, I won't call it a delay.
Right.
Yeah, those are responsible for the delay.
Right.
Delaying.
To get the
Not something sinister, because some people have suggested that there's some,
No, I don't think so,
something
because
going on.
again, I'm saying that this is not the first time.
Right.
You know, to get them, I mean, it's like you're going to serve somebody in Aso, right? Or you want to serve a copy of an election petition on a respondent. It takes time. On the INEC, sometimes you have to go and ask for substituted service. The procedure is time consuming. And at the end of the day, the judges will have to battle to be able to deliver their judgment within the system. Right now, I think I was reading, I think there's about 45 petitions have been filed. 45. And the judges have only 6 months to deal with them.
So basically they have to take the entire 6 months in order to properly
So in many of the states,
create what resembles justice.
over 50 petitions have been filed.
Yeah.
And again, as I've said before, Nigeria records the highest number of election petitions in the entire world because we have refused to make our system to work.
But what I don't understand is that, I mean, you were one of the people who over time pushed for electoral reform and are still pushing for it. That's why you had this new Electoral Act 2022 that was brought in. What is it that prevented the race panel report from being incorporated into it as far as this part of it is concerned? I mean, when it was clear that it would significantly restore credibility to the electoral process and usher in sort of free and fair elections in
I think unfortunately, the man who set up the panel, that's the electoral reform panel, the late Yaradua, could not implement the provisions.
Yeah, but I'm wondering why it wasn't incorporated into the
All
electoral
the
act.
other regimes, successive regimes, have preferred to retain the status quo because they profit from it.
Right.
Yeah.
Self-centered,
And
selfishness.
all the legislators,
Self-centered, that is what we are talking about.
take advantage of the loopholes in the system.
Their self-interest, you know?
Yeah. So basically, your assessment is that changes are required to electoral procedures, electoral functions, amendments to existing laws, and so on and so forth, as recommended by the waste panel?
No, we're going beyond the waste panel.
Right.
We just have to embrace technology. The waste panel didn't think we were going to have beavers.
No, but I mean in terms of the time frame.
What the waste panel was pushing
Yeah.
was that we should have enough time, let's say 6 months, conduct the election 6 months before inauguration, so that all the petitions will have been concluded.
Yeah.
That was it. But now I am saying
that even at this, the way it is now, you can speed the process up. Yeah.
They can speed the process. Exactly.
Right?
But they won't do
If
it.
we embrace technology and make it work, we can conclude election petitions in 14 days or 21 days.
But what you're saying requires a constitutional amendment, or it doesn't?
For me, I think it requires, no, of course, it does require a constitutional amendment. Because right now, the Constitution provides for 6 months. At the time that provision was entrenched in the Constitution, the drafters never thought we were going to go electronic. So if it is working in Kenya and some other African countries,
Absolutely.
why can it not work in Nigeria?
Well, let me ask you
That's the question.
For instance, I'm talking of the presidential election.
Sure.
This is corruption we are talking about. Oh.
You don't need to go to electronic.
And the man in
You
top,
don't need to have governorship election.
the man in top of corruption want to fight it.
You don't need to have 3 stages.
It's like Amraba want to fight.
No, that is the way
We want to fight corruption.
governorship election. Start from the election petition tribunal.
Amraba want to guide your house.
All the others. 2 stages.
Amraba is in charge.
Also,
It's in charge of the case
Yes.
of
an
Amraba.
electoral act that will capture
Please,
the fear
your point. Just
of Nigeria.
comment.
That's a
We need
good
your
point.
comment.
But let me ask you to put on your human rights hat rather than your legal hat. Because your legal hat makes you very kind of black and white. This is what the law says and so on. And I mean, the way that you've explained it has been brilliant. But putting on the other, or maybe I should even say your civil rights hat, what a hammering Bola